Good morning again, everybody. Well, y'all probably noticed that the good versus evil video was dropped quite early this morning because my phone was blowing up overnight, and eventually I wound up out of bed at 5 o'clock because the news just kept coming and coming and coming, and all the alerts that I get. I wanted to see what the hell was going on, and hence here we are. So tons of news overnight, and hence the second video. It took me quite a bit of time to read it and digest it all this morning and put it into a video that isn't 2 hours long. So, kind of want to give you this note. Please understand, I'm not fear-mongering here or whipping up some conspiracy theory or anything like that. I sifted through all the chaff to get to the wheat, and these are the facts of what's going on, okay? Y'all still notice that the mainstream media isn't reporting anything on this, and of course won't because it doesn't fit their narrative. But as preppers, it's important we're ahead of the news, being proactive, not reactive. After all, that's the most basic characteristic a prepper has, being ready for something before it happens, not trying to deal with it after an event, okay? The whole situation in Ukraine brings back memories of my army training during the Cold War. It brings all that Russian back. I've said before, a majority of politicians in the world have never let the Cold War end. I mean, they've just stuck in their head here that, we're still battling the forces of the Soviet Union, okay? In their minds, Russia's always going to be the number one threat to the Russian world. Remember back the 2012 election, Romney, no fan, said that China was our biggest threat and the leftists all laughed at him. Well, Romney was proven correct, and now, because of 44's anti-Russian policies and 46 just being 44 light, we find ourselves at the edge of a cliff. We, the United States, pushed Russia away from us. Please remember, Putin, again, no fan, wanted to establish relations with the U.S. when 44 was elected, and 44 told him to go pound sand, okay? Putin then naturally started building relations with the Chinese. Yep, that's why we are where we are now. Thanks 44, hope and change. Just fast forward to today, okay? The war between Russia and Ukraine that's been going on since 2014 is getting hot again, okay? The ceasefires now seem to be breaking down, and both sides are posturing for battle. Okay, in recent days, we've had artillery shelling and drone strikes that have killed some soldiers and civilians, including a 5-year-old girl. Russia is now moving ships into the from the Caspian Sea into the Black Sea. In total, 10 warships. Okay. With the move, Russia is now showing that their goal is to not allow any NATO ship to get involved in an upcoming Russian operation. Hence, Moscow is now opening up two fronts in Ukraine, one on the Sea of Azov and one in the wider Black Sea on the Odessa side. You don't have that kind of naval presence in a training exercise in a hot area, okay? You just don't, okay? That's a massive movement there. Then in regards to ground combat troops, Russia's moving T-90A tanks and Iskander ballistic missile systems into the area as well. Okay, I can understand the tanks, but you don't start moving, missile systems that have the capability of carrying nuclear missiles on them into a training exercise. They've also moved 250,000 troops into the area as well. Now, if you think this is a normal training exercise, I'm going to use this as an example. I participated in Reforger. For those of you guys who don't know what it is, Reforger's a military acronym for the return of forces to Germany. It was something that we started in the 60s and did throughout the Cold War. But I participated in Reforger 1988, Operation Certain Challenge. Okay. Now, to give you an idea, these are the units that were included in the training exercise. The 3rd Mechanized Infantry Division, the 8th Infantry Division, the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment, the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, the 3rd Armored Division, the Berlin Brigade, the 1st Mechanized Infantry Division, the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, that was my unit, The 197th Infantry Brigade, the 45th Infantry Brigade, the 1st of the 179th Infantry. The total amount of troops in that field exercise, all those units, and I mean, we're talking divisions, regiments, and brigades, okay, huge. The total amount of troops in that field exercise was 125,000, okay? Reforger 1988 was the largest European ground maneuver since the end of World War II, and we had half the troops that Russia's mustering now, okay? If you think this is normal still, Russia's moving troops and equipment to the Ukraine border from as far away as Siberia. That's about 2,700 miles away. It's an awful long way at an awful large cost for a training exercise. Then add climate, okay? Siberian troops are trained for winter combat. It's April and springtime, okay? Why would you be going for training in springtime if you are a cold weather climate unit, okay? That would be like the U.S. Army having the 10th Mountain Division go train in the desert, okay? It makes no sense. Now, add NATO to the mix. Ukraine is trying to join NATO, which really pisses off Russia. They must be getting close because the official NATO website has now included Ukrainian as a language. And mind you, before it was English, French, and Russian. That was it, okay? That's new. Then you have the NATO equipment movement into Ukraine. NATO's delivering military equipment to Ukraine through Poland, specifically M2 Bradley fighting vehicles and British FV-101 Scorpion battle tanks. Now, obviously those weapon systems are not remotely controlled, so that means there's troops along with them, okay? There are also reports that the U.S. is also moving units from the Middle East into Eastern Europe, and also that the U.S. is considering moving a carrier group into the Black Sea. Now again, if this is a Russian training exercise, NATO and the U.S. sure seem to be sending a lot of hardware at a huge cost to monitor that training, okay? So again, this is not making sense. Then if that's not enough to make you wonder, why would the Kremlin come out and say that if a missile was sent toward Russia, they would respond with a nuclear strike? That's quote, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, but live fire training with nuclear weapons is not a good idea, okay? Just a bit of food for thought, guys. If a nuclear missile was aimed at the U.S., it would take about 25 minutes from launch to detonation. That's the window you would have to collect your family and get to whatever shelter you've planned on, okay? I know, it sounds like 1960s and the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again, doesn't it? Okay. But that 25 minutes is from a land-based missile system that would be in Russia sent here. I'm not even talking about submarine-based that could be, right off the coast of North Carolina or whatever. I mean, that could be here in a matter of minutes or less, okay? But then let's add this mess to it. If something happens in Ukraine, you can bet that China is going to take that opportunity to attack Taiwan while the world is preoccupied with Eastern Europe. I mentioned this the other day. Two-front war. We don't want any part of it, okay? Beijing's already accelerated their timeline for an invasion of Taiwan. Just a week or so ago, 20 Chinese military aircraft, including 4 nuclear-capable H-6K bombers, 10 J-16 fighter jets, 2 Y-8 anti-submarine warfare aircraft, and a KJ-500 airborne early warning and control aircraft entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone, okay? That's provocation for sure. Remember, if you go back last month, those talks between the Chinese and the 44 administration in Alaska, it didn't exactly go too well, okay? The stress level from between the two countries has certainly been ramped up, and it'd take a complete idiot not to notice the timing of all of this. 45 kept a pretty firm grip on foreign affairs, and the rest of the world knew he wasn't afraid to rain hell on anybody, that if need be, okay? Now that we have 46 in the White House, the rest of the world sees him as we all do, an extremely weak leader with his tail between his legs. After all, he is the second coming of 44, who's probably going to go down in history as the worst president ever, but, is thanking the heavens because now that 46 is in, he'll move down to second place. This is what's looming, guys. Think about how you're going to react. Okay, the economy is in shambles. CV is still out there. The World Economic Forum wants to blow up the world. Bill Gates wants to depopulate the world. Do you see how this is all kind of coming together? This is the Great Reset. I keep doing it. Countries are vying for more territory, and countries are also vying to become the world's economic authority. This ain't going to be pretty, okay? All the things myself and many other channels have talked about for a year or so are all coming to fruition. What are the odds of World War III happening? I can't say, all right? But I can tell you this, the odds are a lot greater today than they were over the last 4 years, okay? Start thinking about this. Could this be the movie Red Dawn in real life? I mean, how would you react? What are your plans? Are you going to be caged like they were in the movie if this comes to your country, to your town? Step back and be honest with yourself. What would you do? What are you capable of doing? What can you do today to prepare for this? After all, again, like I said, that's what we do. We're proactive so we can react in a methodical manner that's already planned out. I've never met a fly by the seat of your pants prepper. That's not a plan, okay? I wanted to give a shout out to a few channels that you can watch that are doing a lot of research and some great work on this as well, because, I don't have all the answers, never claimed to. I give you what I see, and other people see different things, have different sources, whatever. But, go check these out because they can help you be more knowledgeable about what's going on, because God knows turning on the TV or, typing in ABC or Fox or anything like that is not going to get you anywhere. So go check out NY Prepper, go check out JW Survival, and go check out Off-Grid Desert Farming with Paul and Adrienne, okay? All three of those channels are doing a great job keeping abreast of the situation. As for me, I'll say this. Y'all know most stuff happens over the weekend when people aren't paying attention to the news. It's Friday, y'all. Keep your eyes and your ears open. Pinball out again.